What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Hope Shot Live. Man, it's been a good weekend. I say that every weekend, but it's been a good weekend. It's always a good weekend. Man, I'm in recovery. I'm living life. I didn't have to wake up with a hangover this morning. I didn't have to ruin the whole weekend with my shenanigans of just pissing people off. It's a good life, you know. And man, it's even better when we have an awesome story tonight. We have Benjamin. Um, he's going to come on and share his story, and I'm pretty excited about this one, man. I follow him. Um, but first, we got to read the clarity statement. The Hope Shot clarity statement. We here at the Hope Shot are a group of people in recovery spreading inspiration. We come from all different walks of life and pathways of recovery. Our verbiage may be different at times, but we all have one thing in common: recovery as a lifestyle. We support all pathways of recovery. It doesn't matter how you get from A to Z, just get there. And thank you for being a part of our family. And we mean that. And let's see who we got in the comments. And if you guys would please share this. You never know who Ben's story is going to hit tonight. And I promise you it's going to touch somebody, and somebody needs to hear his story. And it takes you, the share, to get it out there, get a story out there. So thank you in advance. Let's see. We have Sober Now, Melissa. What's up, Melissa? Good to see you. We got Haley. I seen you earlier, man. You're excited just like me. I am too. We got Kayla, and I believe that's from your page. And we got Lisa. Good to see you. We got Justin. What's up, my friend? Amber. So excited to be here. Me too. Me too. We got Gina. What's up, Gina? Jerry. Good to see you, man. Let's see. We got Stacy. Good to see you. Welcome. We got Lynn. Happy Sunday to you as well. We got Jan. Ben, thank you for sharing your experience, strength, and hope. In advance, that is. We got Liam. Welcome. We got Angela and Aaron. Good to see you. Hey, y'all. Hello from Florida. Hello to you. And we got Haley says, we are here. Yes, we are. We show up. Let's see. We got Anna and Kayla. I got 1 year. I love Ben's lives. Yes. Congratulations on your year. We got Kelsey. It's shared. Can't wait to hear his story. Me too. We got Dina. Good to see you, Dina. And we got Anna from Ohio. What's up, Anna? All right, man. So I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory on Ben that I know of anyways, from my point of view. Ben, I've seen him on. So this is what happened. This is the true story. True story. Here we go. I stole one of Ben's reels. I didn't even know who he was, but I seen it on there and it was really good. It was him holding his baby. And he says, if you're in recovery, I'm proud of you, and just like all those things, and it doesn't matter which way you go in recovery. And that hit with me, just like our clarity statement. It just rings true. It doesn't matter where you're at on this journey, we're proud of you, and that's what I really resonated with that. And I finally got to link up with him finally through the grapevine. And I just enjoy his realness, his authenticity. We were just on earlier, right before we jumped on here, talking about the authenticity and what it does with video content, like how it does to the world is the realness. The realness is what drives these reels. It's what drives the emotion. It's people get fake all the time. We need more realness in recovery, and that's what he brings. So I'm going to bring him on. Let's hear his story.
Thank you.
What's up, Ben?
Oh, I jumped the gun a little bit there. What's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me and for the kind words. And shout out to everyone joining from your page, from the link on mine. It's an honor to be on here, man. And you talk about the realness in recovery with the reels, little shameless dad joke pun there. We're two sober dads, so hey, why not? But it's an incredible honor to be on this platform because you and the other people over at the Hope Shot crew always bring that realness. And that was the first reel I ever did when I broke the barrier of saying that I support all paths of recovery. So before I start telling my story, I want to say something. I don't care if you're still in active addiction here tonight. I don't care if you've been Narcan 100 times, been in and out of jail treatment 100 times, lost your job, lost your sense of self, lost your house, lost your family. It is never too late to find that hope shot and recover. We love you, here for you. If you're going through it, doesn't matter in early recovery, mid, long term, whatever that means. All we got is today, this moment, and this connection with each other. Whatever power we believe greater than the bottle in the bag that is rooting us in this shared human experience, whether in person or over here online. And I was just talking about how much I love this community, because if you had told me when I first got sober that I would be telling my story to a wonderful person such as yourself over the internet with all these people tuning in, never would have believed it. And there's a lot of work we still got to do eradicating the stigma, and that starts with everybody telling their stories, including people in the comments. But all that said, I like to say that I was an alcoholic and an addict before I ever took my first drink. Now, what does that mean? People who ain't lived this disease, this affliction, whatever you want to call it, whatever terminology, substance use disorder, addiction, substance use disorder, it doesn't matter to me. What it meant to me is that I was always looking for an external solution to an internal problem. Now, I was born in 1991, a little late-stage millennial. The mother of my child, my beautiful girlfriend, she's 23, and that age gap ain't that much. But to her, I'm an old head. So in my day, that meant Pokemon cards, N64 games, Pogs. Those were my original drugs of choice. Approval from other people. See, I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I was the son of two Ivy League educated journalists who were wonderful people. And I like to say, we didn't own them all, but we sure as hell went shopping there, right? And it wasn't quite white picket fence, but it was uptown D.C. Like, I'm a couple blocks away from the Naval Observatory, National Cathedral, Georgetown, the waterfront, Kennedy Center, all these halls of power and influence. But all that privilege could not save me from the fact that I was diagnosed from a very early age with autism spectrum disorder. And I'm looking in this camera now. But I never felt comfortable looking people in the eye. In fact, whether it was social input, looking people in the eye, being in a room with people hearing their voices, or just hearing the sounds of nature, the sounds of the bustling city I was living in, it was too much. And there's a term for that. Separate from any diagnosis, it's called sensory overload. And from the time I was a young kid, I would literally put my hands over my ears out in public malls and scream to try to drown out everything that I saw as this onslaught. It was like nails on a chalkboard, scratching at the very fiber of my being. And that was what was coming from the outside. But what was going on inside, even with all of these wonderful people in my life, and I never went hungry, there was this voice that told me that I wasn't good enough. There was this voice that told me that that fear that I had of connecting with other people on the outside was something that came from the fact that I didn't have any personal worth. See, there's a difference between ego and self-esteem the way that I see it, and sometimes they meet and they converge. But for me, I hadn't developed any healthy self-esteem. So when I talk about an external solution, long before the chemicals came into play, I attached my identity and my worth, not based on how I felt about myself, not based on looking myself in the mirror and thinking, you're a good guy. You deserve to be happy and successful in life, to find a balanced equilibrium on a mental, spiritual, and emotional plane. And I'm talking when I'm like 4 or 5 years old. My consciousness is just developing. I am deathly afraid of the fact that I don't think I deserve anything. And there's no reason for this. Diagnoses aside, the world's a complicated place, but my world I lived in was a beautiful one. But as I got older, things started to change. My parents got divorced when I was 6 years old. And I remember one of my first memories was holding both of their arms, and they swing me back and forth. And I was the connecting glue between them. And they were the two divergent sides of my identity. So even without the Asperger's diagnosis, even without me needing external approval and validation and turning to all of these material means to find my worth, that was the anchor of my identity. And looking back, they were just people. I'm a parent now. I know how hard it is. They were people who were struggling to come to terms with their own identities. But at the time, at this very pivotal stage, they split up. And it felt like no strong foundation at all, but the very tiny infinitesimal amount of faith I had in myself got ripped apart at that critical juncture. And for the next 7 years, I was in and out of therapy. not just for autism spectrum, not just for my small motor and big motor deficiencies, but because I was suicidal when I was 9 years old. I told my therapist I wanted to kill myself, and I didn't know why. I wasn't conscious of all of this back then. I just was in a lot of pain. But see, I would immerse myself in these video games, and I was the little kind of outcast kid growing up, going to this DC private school with the sons of senators and congressmen and multinational billion-dollar hedge fund executives. But separate from all the money, here's the first thing a kid will ask you in that type of situation in DC. It's not like, oh, do you like playing with trucks or playing with dinosaurs? It's, what do your parents do for a living? So again, it's that external worth that I am being conditioned from all angles to believe that I am not worthy based on who I am. And everybody else gets exposed to this. And whether you're in DC or you're in a rural area, whether that sense of external worth comes from winning a championship football game in a rural area or being the son of a fancy prominent lawyer or politician in DC, it comes in many forms. I'm not special. But my lack of resiliency and my inability to move forward and try to find sustainable clarity without an external solution, even before drugs came into the picture, set the stage for the point that when I did take that first drug and drink at the age of 13, not a little sip of wine, not like a little, oh, it's New Year's Eve, I'm gonna have a sip of champagne, but having taken those little initial sips and knowing that that little sip could take some of the edge off chemically, when I sought that out intentionally for the first time, I was like 13, 14, 7th, 8th grade. I forget the exact grade, but I'll never forget the day. Because I was in my friend's basement, and he had this musty, forgotten six-pack of Sam Adams Oktoberfest, but he remembered it. His parents forgot it, but he remembered it was right behind that couch at midnight when we were sleeping over. And he drank one of them, and I drank 5. And when it touched my lips, that musty cobweb past its prime might have been mold on the cap. All of a sudden, that little voice telling me I wasn't good enough washed away in this poisonous sea of false euphoria. But it came at a price. And the price was that I thought this was my get out of jail free card from this metaphoric prison of guilt, shame, and fear on neurological, emotional, dare I say, spiritual and mental levels in my subconscious and my conscious thought. And I was one of those people, right? Some people say like, oh, after 20 years of drinking, I realized I was an alcoholic. I realized I was an alcoholic right then and there, but I thought everybody else was crazy for not drinking the way I wanted to drink. I thought everybody else was nuts. I was like, there is a solution here in this literal liquid solution that allows me to feel like the weight's been lifted. But the irony is that it came with a new weight, which is the burden of having to find ways to drink, ways to use, ways to seek out this state of chemical euphoric oblivion. And I chased it with all my might. And it started out real suburban, you know. The one discipline at this point that my parents made me stick with was something I loved to do, which was music, which was playing classical piano. And everybody's good at something. Everybody's got a passion. I say this in recovery. People might not know what their passion is in active addiction, but everybody's got something other than that dope and that drink that gets us off the bed in the morning, off the couch when we're feeling down. But the more and more I turned to drugs as my solution, the more and more I abandoned the passions that were giving me some of the euphoria naturally that I should have been seeking out all along. I should have been pursuing my passion for music and poetry. But instead, all I wanted to do was drink. Started out, I'd be hungover, get a bad grade on a test, get bad marks on a classical piano judging, skip a class. But after a couple of years, it wasn't so suburban because the same way that I said, you know, I would find worth in video games, I'd find worth in approval from other people. The drugs and the alcohol didn't just become my ticket to artificially, I thought, not really doing this, but I thought it was removing the anxiety from me. It wasn't just self-medication. It became my identity in itself because I would go to these like uppity private school parties, right? Where like you got to be cool, whatever that means to get in. And I wasn't preppy. That wasn't my bag. But I couldn't be that dude with like the alligator polo shirt captain of the lacrosse team, you feel me? But I could be the dude who showed up with 5 bottles of whiskey and an ounce of cannabis. That was my ticket in there. And when I had that, it wasn't just the chemical that took away my pain, made me think I was okay. It was my ticket in the door. So it took me through a metaphoric doorway within myself where I let go temporarily, although it came back worse in the morning, of my baggage. but it got me acceptance socially, which as a kid with Asperger's, with a kid separate from any diagnosis, just someone who never felt comfortable around other people, it gave me an identity and a purpose. And I kept going that way. I had this false suburban Scarface complex. Really, I'm just stealing my mom's ATM card, taking out a couple $100 so I can buy a zip of bud, flip that into something, pretend I'm this big hustler, and really I'm just army crawling in, ripping off my family. But I got this whole character running in my head. And at the same time, I'm getting involved in the DC hip hop scene, making music about this fantasy, this fake fantasy I have in my head about being this Scarface weed and coke dealer, going with all these bottles that I'm paying for with my privileged family's money. But I ain't telling that to nobody. You know, I'm Scarface. I'm El Chapo. You know what I mean? I'm private school suburban El Chapo in my head. But beneath it all, beneath this chemical and false facade, I'm just the same scared little kid with autism spectrum disorder, putting my hands over my head, hiding under that table at the mall because I don't want people to see me. But then it gets to a point where the consequences ain't so suburban. I drop out of school, got a full ride education at University of Miami. I do it by the skin of my teeth. I got one of the worst GPAs at my nice private school in DC with the senators and congressmen, but I get in because I have a nice audition. Because us addicts are good. I'm just going to speak for me, but we're good at manipulating outcomes to make sure we can still do what we need to do. And so I get into this dual major music business, classical piano performance thing, but I get down to University of Miami, right? And I like to think people can get sober anywhere or use anywhere, but maybe, just maybe, it wasn't the right decision to apply to a school in Coral Gables, Miami, Florida, as a budding alcoholic and cokehead, right? So I get there, and within 3 weeks, I drop out because I'm not going to any classes. All I want to do is get high, get drunk, chase girls, and spit these fake freestyle raps where I glorify this fake suburban Scarface persona. So I drop out, and clever addict I am, I find the checkbook that's attached to this, incredibly generous account that my parents set up for me that can pay for like 2 or 3 years of school at this expensive institution. But I forge the checks and I write money for myself to go on alcohol and cocaine binges, visiting all these kids that I used to go to school with, who now I think it's like this simultaneous dichotomy of thinking I'm worse than dirt, but better than all these kids. Because I'm the person now coming through across the country, driving with all these drugs and all these bottles, trying to maintain this thing of being this rapper, being this suburban Scarface, when really I'm just throwing up in the bathroom because I'm drinking a fifth of whiskey a night and sniffing a ball of cocaine to even feel like I'm deserving of the same love I've never thought I'm deserving of. But it all came to a stop when I crashed my car into 3 other cars after driving home hungover from a night in Philly. And I hadn't been drinking. I wasn't like altered, but I had drank a whole fifth of scotch the night before, and my BAC, even though I hadn't had a drink in 10 hours, was still 0.11. And when the cops pulled me over, well, they didn't have to pull me over because I slammed my car. I totaled my car. My first thought when that happened was not, oh my God, I totaled my mom's car. Oh my God, they're going to find out I've been stealing all this money. Oh my God, I slammed into other people. Are they okay? I'm about to get arrested. They're slapping the cuffs on me. I can't get out of this even with my privilege. My one thought was, I'm not going to be able to drink or use today. I didn't care about anything else. Because if anything got in between my perceived solution, whatever that meant, and me, had to go. But my privileged family bailed me out. And I'm sitting at home having my friends bring me alcohol, bring me coke, bring me all the drugs, but it's not touching my anxiety and my fear. And so I realized for the first time, maybe I really got a problem. I knew I was an alcoholic. Maybe I really got a problem. I got to do something. So I stopped drinking. Stop the hard drugs. I didn't stop smoking cannabis, and I got no problem with cannabis recovery. If that's your jam, that's cool. I got nothing against plant medicine, recovery, MAT, any of that. Just never worked for me. It's a substance that I was not able to use sustainably, but I stopped drinking, and I conned my family into enrolling me in this much cheaper art school in California. I thought I'm going to go out there, grow my hair out, smoke, ride my skateboard, hang out with a couple friends I got out there. It's what's called in certain fellowships and recovery circles a geographic. Like the problem isn't me, it's my surroundings. I'm just going to dip out to California. And I mentioned my parents got divorced. My dad had remarried, relocated out there. And as a result of my addiction, we had kind of gotten distant. So I thought I'll mend the bridges with my dad. I'll wait out the court date. I'll get some clean tests for at least alcohol and cocaine. But there was one line, even with the car crashes, even with the 8th of cocaine a night, drinking whiskey till I get the shakes, trying to detox, I still thought I was an uptown coke dealer. I still thought I was a private school alcoholic. I still thought I was a Oscar statue on the mantle from my famous great-grandfather, American composer, all of these delusional notions glamorizing my addiction. And the one thing that bolstered that was the illusion that I was too good for one class of drugs that I had never tried. And that was opioids. I sipped a little codeine cough syrup in the studio, but that was just to look cool for the people I was rapping with. I didn't really want to get high off of it. I didn't even drink that much because I didn't want to mix it with alcohol and OD. But I never did opioid pills, never did heroin, never did nothing like that. I thought it was too good for it. But then all my 4 wisdom teeth came in impacted. And not just a little bit. Like, I had to have full, like, jaw reconstructive surgery because they were, like, digging into the bone. Like, pressure was... And that happened literally 2 weeks after I moved out to California to restart my life, right? And I like to think everything happens for a reason, but still to this day, I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Not the surgery, although that sucked. But I go into the surgery and I got this Raw Rolling Papers t-shirt on. And my smokers, y'all know the vibes. And the anesthesiologist sees this, and right before he puts me under with the propofol or whatever, he's like, you know you can't smoke weed when you're recovering from this surgery. And I'm like, what? And then I black out. And when I wake up, I go see the specialist. And they're like, yeah, well, you're healing okay. And I'm like, but the one thing, just like when I got in that crash, I was like, hold up. You're telling me that, like, I can't get high today? I said to the person, the dentist, I was like, so I can't smoke cannabis? He's like, nah. It's not just you can't smoke cannabis. You can't smoke cigarettes. You can't even drink a soda out of the straw. The suction will tear the clots out. You can't do anything. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But then, and I'm not blaming them because I would have found it eventually anyway. I don't blame the doctor, but this was a different time. The opioid, this was early 2012. The first Purdue Pharma lawsuits were happening. The drug database system wasn't implemented like it is right now, controlling the prescription drugs. They gave me 100 Percocets. They gave me 100 Percocets in a bottle, and I couldn't smoke, and that became my new solution. And it took me about 4.5, 5 years to get to the point I was a physically dependent alcoholic, an emotionally dependent cocaine addict. It took me the same amount of weeks with opioids. And I ran out of the prescription, and it just so happened that 4 blocks away from my dorm room was one of the biggest open-air drug markets in the country. It's only behind Vancouver and Skid Row in LA and Kensington and Philly, and that's the Tenderloin out in San Francisco. And, up until this point, my addiction has been pretty suburban. I'm copping coke from, like, George Washington and Georgetown University dorm rooms. I'm, like, drinking at these, like, big mansions or whatever. But, like, when I snorted my first 30, game over, bro. It was not suburban Scarface anymore. It was pawning everything that I had. It was going days without eating, weeks without eating anything but top ramen. And, it was only 7 months till I did heroin the first time. And again, I had all these delusions. Even though I was snorting all these Oxy 30s and Dilaudid pills right now, I'm a prescription opioid addict. You know what I mean? But then one day my dealer didn't have any pills. And if you're an opioid addict, anything like me, you already know the end of the story. Got hooked on dope. It was cheaper. Went to rehab the first time a month after I started doing that, but I wasn't ready. At this point, my mom was in recovery. She had developed alcoholism as a result of drinking to cope with the traumatic experience she had, which I kind of glossed over, of after she got divorced from my dad, she met this very charming, charismatic man who was very nice when he wasn't drinking, but when he drank, he abused her very heavily, emotionally, yelling at her, shoving her on counters a little bit. Not too much, but, he was not a good impact on her life, and she developed a drinking habit in lieu of that. But she got sober. And one of my biggest regrets, I don't regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it, but I feel very bad about the fact that 6 months after she got sober, I had that DUI accident, and a year after that, I was struggling with a full-blown heroin addiction. And she was taking me to rehab, crying about, even though she was in recovery and got it, just, can you please go to this recovery house? Can you please do something? But I said, yeah, for sure. I'll do the IOP. I'll do the recovery house. But I was just waiting until she got off my case till I could use again. And the next 3 years were a tragic blur. I came from not like billions money, but my great-grandfather wrote God Bless America in White Christmas. I grew up going to Broadway premieres, like going to private school bar mitzvahs where they rent out like the whole Dave and Buster's, you feel me? I am not someone who ever had to struggle, but I created my own struggle. I created my own pain out of the pain that I was born with as a result of my neurological and spiritual deficiencies, the way I like to see it, that I was afraid to address. And every single line I thought I didn't cross, I crossed. Freebasing, shooting dope, shooting black tar, shooting fentanyl, pawning everything I had, stealing from complete strangers, friends, family members, more money than I ever thought possible, hitting petty licks to try to pay for my habit, getting change slapped out of my hand by crack dealers in the Tenderloin, cartel subsidiary MS-13, like Latin King gangbangers with like face tattoos and knife scars fucking holding me up against like blocks next to trucks because I shorted them $5 trying to think I was slick for the handoff. I remember one day, I was so dope sick that I was beginning to have the second dystonic seizure that I had had in 2 months. The first one I had to get taken to the hospital. My dad had to see me get shot up with Ativan to keep me from foaming at the mouth because I was in such hazardous Xanax and black tar heroin withdrawal. But it was even worse withdrawal than that because I went from doing 300 in the day to nothing. And I found a $20 bill in the gutter. And a lot of people don't believe me, but I did. And it was just enough to get me what I needed not to have a seizure that day. And even that didn't make me want to stop using. It wasn't until a couple weeks later when I came back home to the East Coast where I shot 3 bags of Fetty Lace dope and it didn't do a thing that I realized this in and out of rehab miserable game is not working. My solution doesn't work. It get me physically high, didn't get me mentally high. And that's when I decided to go to treatment for myself. And when I went to treatment, it was June 13, 2016. And the night before I went, I tried to kill myself, tried to OD. The rig was so dark, I couldn't see the blood register, but it didn't even knock me out. I don't know if that's God, whatever you want to call it, but I'm here today. And a lot of my friends didn't make it. I've lost more friends and acquaintances I knew from treatment in the streets than I can count on my fingers and toes. I would honestly have to sit down and think about it, really, write their names out. But I go to treatment and I almost leave 2 weeks in because I made a selfish decision 5 days in to transfer my addiction to substances onto addiction to the same codependent approval I sought out as a kid when I hooked up with someone. They say you're not supposed to hook up with anyone in the first year. I waited about 5 days. And it was a horrible decision, not just for me, but I should have let her heal. But I was just grasping at straws for an external solution. And that's why I say that even though my sobriety date is June 13th, 2016, that I consider my real sobriety date when I was going to pack my things and leave. And I convinced my family I was going to another treatment center. But really, I had heard about Kensington out in Philly because the treatment center was in Pennsylvania. I was about to hitch an Uber or a train after blackmailing my family into Western Union me money that I told them was for a train to go to this other detox facility. Really, I was just trying to end it all. But I saw this reflective surface. Might have been a mirror, might have just been like a metal reflective surface in this cabinet or like this picture frame they had up on the desk of this half-lidded-eyed counselor that when I'm telling her, I'm going to go to another treatment center, she's just like, yep. And I realized I wasn't fooling her, but I also realized I wasn't fooling myself. And I saw a couple paths for my future. One was if I tried to keep running away from the truth with poisonous substances. One is if I just try to end it all. And one is if I use the same anxiety, fear, guilt, shame, and pain that had pushed me towards the bottle, the bag, the bundle, and everything in between to seeking recovery and chasing recovery. And I chose to do that. And that's the point I really opened my ears and opened my eyes and opened my heart to the message. And I stayed in treatment another 2 weeks, came back, went to a recovery house. And when I came back, my mom had discovered my cache of paraphernalia that I thought I cleaned out. Rigs, spoons, stems, tinfoil, all of that. And she did something that day. She had always been supportive of my recovery, always been a wonderful mom. But she took me to a recovery event where she introduced me to some guys to save my life. And everybody's path to recovery is different. I ain't getting fellowship specific, but they taught me some principles and some tools I needed to make it through my path to recovery. And about 3 months in, I got, my hormones are coming back. I got raging acne, incredibly insecure. My mom did something else. She said, you need to get a job. That's great. You're going to these outpatient therapy things. That's great. You're living in this recovery house. You need to get a job. And she was talking about money and purpose. But what it really did is it gave me a reason to wake up in the morning. And I had this moment when I first went to that job, right? About 2 weeks in, DC is hot and humid like Miami, Florida in August and September. It's built on a swamp. It's like living deep south in the tropics during those months. But I got this, I'm working at this French bistro, right? I got this heavy button-down shirt, black vest, black tie, black apron. Makes it feel like 120 degrees. But I don't want to roll up my sleeves, right? Because I don't know if y'all can see, but I don't want them to see those scars that even then, they still haven't healed 7 years later. But it gets too hot. I'm dropping plates. Now I want to lose my job. So I walk into the place, get a baguette, bread, because it's a fancy French place, roll up my sleeves. I'm just like, please don't let a server or chef say anything, but without missing a beat. Because back then they were discolored. They still had scabs on them because they were like black tar abscess scars. And this woman says, hey, what are those scars? And I froze. So I was like, what lie can I tell to get out of this? And I started thinking, oh, I'll just tell her that I had surgery. What's the surgery you can have far away on your arm, away from a bone? That doesn't make sense. And it's like, well, I got in a fight. That's even worse. What kind of knife fight? And then I realized it was going to be harder to keep telling lies than it would be to tell the truth. So I looked at her and I told her, I'm in recovery from heroin addiction. I'm just hoping I can keep this job because I'm trying to get my life back. And I just really hope that I can still work here. And I was expecting her to judge me, but instead she said, good for you, kid. Keep it up. I know a lot of friends who are struggling with that right now. And that's amazing that they gave you this chance. I got you back. And that made me cry, man. I had to take a break and go to the bathroom and just like, still makes me like tear up just thinking about it, man, because not everyone's supportive. But it wasn't just the fellowship in my family that saved me. It was everyone at that job. It was everyone that I met outside of, fellowships at H&I commitments and like, going to talk to people, seeing my friends who I used to use with, the ones who didn't pass away and got clean. They reinvigorated me, man. And about 2.5 years in, I had a beautiful life. I was working part-time as a treatment counselor, peer counselor. I was working as a bartender, weirdly enough, because I promoted from busboy to server. And I learned a lot of lessons in recovery behind that bar, man. Being close to that. Not everyone's story can have that. But for me, it was something I needed because more than being close to the alcohol, the trigger of seeing like resentful drunk people I was serving and taking that power away from that powered me through. But I had given up on my dream of, using words and music. I was just going to be a drug counselor, man. Shout out to all my drug counselors. Y'all are doing beautiful work. And one day I will go back to doing that, man. But my dad gave me a house that he built with his bare hands in Vermont. And a friend of a friend introduced me after my dad gave me the house to take care of it. And I was fixing it up because it's like a beat up house up in the woods and the pipes were freezing and all that. This dude that owned a studio up here. And we started making music together and telling the story of my recovery. Started writing weekly column that told the story of my recovery. And right now I'm sitting in the magazine office for Old Mill Road Media, which is my current job. I don't have a college degree. I'm just a dude in recovery who loves words and music. But showing up every day, I have a job as a journalist. I have a child. I have a radio show. But more than any of that, I make content about recovery every day. But more than any of that, more than any of the toys and prizes, more than the trust and respect of my family, my friends, my years sober, all I have is today. I have today, I have this moment, I have this second, and I have this decision that I have been graced with as a result of the help I got from my family, the people in my fellowship, and the people who have helped me at every stage in my recovery to say yes to life. Everybody talks about saying no to drugs, and that's so important if you're trying to get sober or if you're working from a prevention angle. I say yes to life. Say yes to choosing the high, the clarity, and the euphoria that can come from seeking out a sustainable solution and using the same anxiety and fear and guilt that scared kid with Asperger's who hid under the table says, no, I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to hide from that world. I'm not going to hide from me. I'm not going to hide from that pain. I'm not going to hide from that fear. I'm going to run towards the truth. I'm going to look it in the eye. I'm going to look myself in the eye in the mirror, and I'm going to say, yes, you can stay sober today. And more than that, you're going to love your life and you're going to be grateful for it because you deserve it. Not you're a bad person for using drugs. You're a good person and you deserve to be clean. You deserve to have a life. You deserve to chase your passions like you chase that dope. And if there's anybody out there struggling in active addiction or early recovery who thinks anything less than you're a beautiful person and you deserve to be sober, I want you to know I love you and you can do it. And that's all I got, man. Thank you for letting me share.
Drop it. That's what you do. End it on a freaking high note. That was so high, bro. That was, dude. Thank you. Thank you so much, dude. I needed to hear that tonight. I need to hear it, because even people in recovery, man, doesn't matter how long you've been in here, we still need that message because life is still life. Life shows up, saying yes to life, no matter what. And man, I really enjoyed that. I really did. Give me 1 second. Let me get some things situated real quick. Bam. Let me put that back. All right. Ben, man, you're an inspirational dude, man. I really loved it. I loved all of it, man. It's funny, man, because no matter where we grow up, no matter how it was, we still have the same story in some form or fashion. I think to me, everybody has a story. Like there's a lot of people that have stories of divorce, and it's traumatic on people, you know? And I feel like, and we don't know that it's traumatic as, you know, growing up, we don't know where it comes from that the disconnect happens, but we're always searching for like where we belong and the identity. And you touched on it like perfectly, the identity, you know, where our identity is. And then as you said, while you're in this little college thing, you're thinking you're low as dirt, but you're up here, right? And it's so fucked up to think that, but I feel like we have split personality disorder. You know, we feel like we're the lowest scum on the earth, but we're up here because we have the drugs and alcohol making us up here. And it's a trick to our ego that makes us think that we're not, you know, we still belong, and it puts us places we're not supposed to be because we have this one thing, you know. And even now that I'm in recovery, sometimes I get into that mindset, like drugs and alcohol brought me more places than I think that I ever could go, but that's bullshit. See, my mind will trick me into thinking that. But man, I've been more places than drugs and alcohol ever took me in my whole entire life. Okay. And it's just waiting. They always say, don't leave 5 minutes before the miracle. And it's so true with everything we do. Like you said, saying yes to life. As long as we keep saying yes, that miracle is going to happen. It might not happen in our time that we want it, but it's going to happen. And I think it's amazing that your mom's in recovery, by the way. Shout out to mom. I know she's probably on here. I think I've seen her name in here. Mary?
Yeah, Mary Ellen Barry Lerner. That's her.
Yep. I seen her in the comments, man. Shout out to mama. I think that's awesome. You know, my dad got sober. My dad got sober when I was young, you know, right after my mom left him, he got sober. And, you know, I just couldn't get my shit together though. I didn't want to. I had to go through more pain in order for it to work. So I took a couple notes, like I told you. You know, and you were talking about how addiction is the killer of all passions and purposes. Doesn't matter. Like that's where we should get our drive from. That's where we should fill our cups. But instead, we're out here trying to get it through drugs and alcohol, and they take over. You know, it doesn't matter how much we love something, and that's the passion. How much we love it, how much we care for it. It's going to be taken away by drugs and alcohol because they want all your attention. And I, you know, there's so many things in recovery that I've learned from because I don't put a substance in me. That was my hobby. That was my career. That was my girlfriend, my everything. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't love nothing else. Everything, all the ounce of anything I ever had was into that one substance because I thought it loved me more than anybody else. And it's so crazy that in the last 5 years, I've done more than my 35-year-old self did ever. You know what I mean? Because I'm 41. So last 5.5 years, 6, I'm 5.5. Give me the half. But I've done more in this time in recovery than I ever have the whole time I've been alive. And that's crazy. I got my GED. I learned. Oh, look at that. Oh. You know, I got my GED. I got, you know, I learned a new trade. I learned how to do this stuff right here. I learned video editing. I learned just all of it. How to be a dad, how to be a brother, how to be a friend. You know what I mean? Like all these things I didn't know how to because I was still that scared little boy that I was when I started drinking and drugging myself and lost all passion for life. And yeah, so that really resonated. And then I had the codependency, man, just grabbing on the shit, man, whatever would come. I just did a video the other day. Oh, Dina, thank you. And I stopped smoking cigarettes. Okay. And that was, I didn't think I would ever do that, to be honest with you. You know, I just got tired of freaking smoking, but thank you, Dina, for that. But codependency, man, I did a video the other day because I had to think about it, man. Is there healthy codependency? You know? And what do you think? Do you think there is?
I think it's one of those things where I can look at someone who enjoys several glasses of wine or smokes cannabis. I mean, there's people who use cannabis medicinally in their recovery. That's not the type of thing I'm talking about. Someone who's never struggled with addiction or any diagnosed mental health issues, who just indulges in it because they like the effect. And that to me is not an unhealthy relationship. I might never understand how someone's capable of that. Like, shout out my dad. He can have 2 tequilas and wake up in the morning and work discipline, hidey hoo-ha, like time to go to work. That's not me. Shout out to them though. I think it's one of those things that when you know it, you know it. And you might not want to admit it, but there's a difference between being dependent on someone you're in a domestic or child rearing partnership with, or just, a loving relationship, be it romantic, platonic, sexual, be it a friendship. That's dependency, and that's good because, in recovery, whatever modality or fellowship or form it is, placing trust is better than placing our trust in a drug. Like, I used to place my trust in a bag that made me dope sick in the morning. Took me a lot to trust in a plug who might run off with my cash. Took me a lot to trust another man who I barely knew with my life story and with helping me in my process of recovery. And regardless of the fellowship, that connection, whether it's virtual or in person, that connection and that trust is the basis for learning to trust ourselves and vice versa. So I think that reframing the conversation rather than healthy codependency or even dependency, but healthy communication. Because if you depend on someone, for me at least, but you don't communicate, be it someone in your family, be it a friendship, be it someone at work, and you're just working with them expecting that everything's going to go perfectly, or expecting that they owe you this service for money or owe this because it's part of your unspoken contract, and then someone slips up being a human, that resentment's going to consume me. Like if my partner, doesn't do something, like maybe they forget my birthday because they're so busy, but to me it's like, and that's a bad thing to do, but if I take it that level, it's because I'm not communicating with them, or if someone snaps out on me, and there's degrees to this and we have to be willing to set boundaries. But to me, healthy relationships come from communication and honesty. And codependent relationships, I think, are relationships that are maybe biased towards one person not being heard or not being treated in the right way, and the other person sometimes not even knowing or fully understanding what they're doing, and the other person not being brave enough to call them out on it. And so for me, it's all about recognizing what's a healthy relationship and what's not. It can be healthy to depend on your loved one when taking care of kids or taking care of a dog or just taking care of your relationship. But when it gets to that point that there's resentment, unspoken tension, and anger, that's when whether it's codependency or not, you got to break those boundaries down, just like we do in recovery, being real with ourselves and be real with our relationship, whether it can last through that or not.
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, you pretty much hit it on the nail. It's one person taking too much and one person not giving too much. And there's no support. There's not a 50-50 here. It's not a two-way street. It's one person taking, one person giving too much. So when we're in, recovery, a lot of people get those rehab romances, right? That's what, and it's taking hostages is what we like to call those. And because we're broken. We're broken. We need something to fill that cup because those drugs and alcohol are gone, right? And so I was really looking at that because listen, I'm dependent on my wife, but she is. There's another thumbs up. I'm kind of digging this though. There is a healthy one, but it's not codependency. It's called interdependency, and it's both of us coming together, communicating what our wants are, and then also reciprocating that into one another. And that's something we can't find in recovery because in addiction, because we're takers. We are takers. We can't give anything. We ain't got nothing, right? Ain't got nothing, man.
Hey, man. Oh. Take from ourselves and others.
What's that?
Take from ourselves and others.
Of course, we're depleted. Let's see. And then I seen I got the scars, man. Yeah, listen. I do drywall. I got scars all up and down my arms, right? And anytime we do drywall, bro, I get reminded because guess what? The dust from drywall only sticks to where the scars around the scars. The scar tissue it doesn't stick to. So anytime I do drywall, it sticks to the sweat on my arm, and you can see every single mark. Because I was like, I never did it here. I always did it on top because I didn't want anybody to know. And it's been, I mean, shit, 12 years since I ever put anything in me. But every time I did that, it would remind me of those scars, man. And the scars give us strength to what we never want to go back to. And I actually have a buddy, Nate. He's on here. Nate, he freaking has a really horrendous scar, and he hit me with a freaking shark bite, bro. And it's from using, but he hit me with a shark bite, bro. And I was like, no, really? He's like, no, it's from shooting.
I should have said shark bite. You know, I'm just playing, but I didn't even think of that. Shark bite. Yeah, that's good.
Well, you're in Vermont, so I don't know how that works, but
bear bite, moose.
Yeah, you go,
Mark.
Yeah, it's just he got me though. He got me good.
Yeah, that's pretty hilarious, man.
Let's read some of these comments real quick. Let me see. Do I have anything else? No, the last thing I had was say yes to life, and I really, 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 that should be a campaign. Like, we should do a whole campaign around that. Say yes to life. I freaking absolutely. I'm running on that one, dude. I love that. That is just phenomenal, bro.
Well, that's what I did for a reel the other day. I got a lot of comments when I did a reel about, you know, I've been expanding mostly on Instagram because I do a lot of reply videos on there. People are talking a lot about the fentanyl epidemic over there, and a reel I did caught on when I went to a rally, Lost Voices of Fentanyl, about taking action for the fentanyl epidemic. And a lot of people are saying, well, whatever happened to just say no? And so, we could go on that. I'm not going to go on that, but
yeah. We can go down a rabbit hole.
You can see me on that over there. And prevention is so important. I'm not saying no is just, but they're using it to like say that recovery doesn't matter because you had your shot. You should have just said no. I don't care if you want to, but what I say to them is, all right, yes, just say no is incredibly important in terms of prevention and education. But for people who are already addicted to alcohol, opioids, and all other manner of life-destroying drugs, we need to just say yes to recovery. We need to just say yes to providing people with the services and facilities that they need in order to get their lives back, not just so they can be sober, but so they can be productive, loving, tax-paying, helpful citizens. And it's just like, say yes to life. It's not just the addict saying yes to life. It's the community encouraging the addict to say yes to life so that they can help another addict help make the community a better place. And, saying yes to life doesn't just apply to people in recovery. It's everybody has a struggle. And being in recovery makes me see that, and talking to people who are family members, man, like everybody has so much healing to do, and everybody gains so much by saying yes to life and saying yes to confronting life, living on life's terms, and loving that, having gratitude for that work, man. So amen to say yes to life on every level.
Yeah, and we were kids, right? And all this stuff started when we were kids. We didn't know how to, one thing, control emotions, right? We didn't know how to control emotions. We had parents that didn't know how to control emotions. You don't talk about the problems because we always have to sweep it under the rug. That's what everybody was brought up in. That's the stigma that's around it. We don't talk about our problems. You just sweep it under the rug, and that's it. And the problem is like, yes, we did say yes at one time, okay? There was a yes until there was no choice. The choice was taken. The power was gone. I couldn't say no. Like, that's what it was. It was the solution. And there's a lot of people that are in it that don't even know they freaking don't say no. You know what I mean? That can't say no. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there that don't even know that they're there until the time comes where they're finally like, you know what? I need to stop. And they can't. And that's what it is. There's so much money in treatment. There's so much money in the treatment system. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but we also need on both sides of the spectrum. And that's why, like, we're actually having this project, Alliance for Hope project's coming, where we're tag teaming with a prevention, and we're on the recovery side. And we call it, like, I call it the rainbow effect, because we're shining light on our county, and like, we're trying to go on both sides of the treatment centers, the treatment center of care. And we're trying to, like, put some light on it we really need to ramp up the efforts. You know what I mean? That recovery is a good thing. It's a positive thing. And we need more people in place to be able to nurture one thing, prevention, but also on the recovery side to do the maintenance, the maintenance after treatment. So I'm with you, bro. I'm with you on that. Say yes.
Yeah, man. Treatment does not end at the treatment center. It would be great if it did. It would be great if like 28 days, $28,000, you're fixed. Brand new. But
wait, the Malibu, remember? I used to be an addict. Now I'm not.
that was my favorite. And the way he said it, now I'm not. Shout out to Pax. But yeah, no shade. Like any form of treatment is cool. I'm glad that took addiction and treatment to like the place where it was on TV. And people, that was the first televised treatment center ad I saw nationwide. So shout out to them for breaking the stigma. But that quote is funny.
Yeah, man. It is. That was it used to kill me, bro. When I heard that, I'm like, get the hell out of here. Stop. You're looking foolish. But whatever, man. Let everybody have their time, Yeah. I'm gonna read some comments real quick, man. I'm gonna put Mama Dukes up there first. Your higher power was looking out for you.
I love you, Mom. So great to see you on here. Indeed, HP was. And before I could believe in a higher power, and I am a man of faith today. I don't make it a big part of my platform, but it is. But for me, regardless of whether you want to put it in a spiritual, faithful, religious context, I had to have faith in life before any of that happened. Some people, it's the other way. They have a spiritual awakening and that leads to recovery. But for me, recovery led to my spirituality. And even if it didn't have any spiritual context, my power, what I put my faith in for a decade, was very finite. When the bottle was done, when the bundle was done, I was out of faith and hope and all that. My hope was my hope. And I thought it was so powerful, but really the power was only what was in the bag. And that's when I realized when I got clean, I was like, I've been looking in the bottle and the bag for so long. I'm not looking at the whole world. I'm not looking at all these connections that aren't connects and plugs, but is getting me plugged into this beauty and this hope in the people. And yeah, that led me to spirituality and a power greater than that for me. But to anybody who's struggling to find whatever a higher power is, if that's part of your recovery journey, separate from any spirituality, recovery in itself is one heck of a higher power. It is a plug that never has to re-up. It is a liquor store that you never have to wait for it to open. It is a bartender that never cuts you off. And that is one heck of a higher power.
I like it. It's not the drug dealer that's going to leave you on the freaking 5 minutes away and never show up.
Yeah. 5 hours.
We got Amber says, putting the same effort in my recovery that I put into staying drunk has made all the difference. Big facts, man. You do whatever to get high. You do whatever it takes to stay in recovery, man, and whatever it looks like. Only you know. And you'll figure it out too.
All pass. All
That's
pass.
Right. Yep. She also says, amazing testimony. Keep doing what you're doing. We need you.
We need you, man. We need the work that you're doing to give voices to people in recovery of all paths and all stages, man. Like, it's a beautiful thing. I can't tell you how humbled I was last year when I found this online community. Like, I had seen little reels and dispatches, but I'm new to this. I'm late to this game, man. Like, I had no idea. And I have been I've told you this before we hopped on. I have been doing recovery advocacy in person and through print for years. I was like, what? There are people doing this and shattering the stigma this hardcore? What? And it's amazing, man. Every person, I always like to say on my lives, every person who leaves a comment talking about their recovery or their experience with a loved one, you're a content creator too. You're shattering the stigma too. So shouts out to everyone in the comments. Everybody.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. We're all breaking down the stigma little bits at a time, man. And that's what it takes. We got Curtis, 3 years. Love the message.
Yeah. I'm going to do what I do on my Monday live. Let's clap it up for all the sober dates in the comments. Let's clap it up. Yeah.
Right? Let's see. Where are we at? We got Aaron says, thank you for sharing your story and experiences. Congrats on your sobriety.
Thank you for being open to it. And I'm grateful to be alive. grateful to be able to breathe and speak. Shout out to everybody still fighting.
Christina says, not a counselor, but I am a peer support, and I work hard hand in hand with the counselors, and it's so powerful to spread the message of hope. Just for today, I'm choosing life. Love that saying. I'm telling you, man, we should all, as everybody everywhere, we should have like some kind of campaign. Yes, just say yes to life. You know what I mean? Just figure it out. Like I think that's my slogan for the week. Just to let you know. You just left me with something for the week.
You know who coined that, actually?
Who?
Was Ewan McGregor, the actor. It's the first 2 words in the movie Trainspotting. And the last.
Huh.
Choose life. Choose a mortgage. Choose cleaning out your gutters. If you ain't seen that movie, I don't want to trigger anybody. It's a powerful addiction movie, but the message, nonetheless, in the beginning or the end, is choose life. Irvine Welsh, that novel. It's a powerful addiction novel and movie.
We got Lynn. This is a beautiful testimony. I'm 33 days sober from alcohol. Thanks for this message of truth. Yo, congratulations, Lynn.
Hey,
let's go. 33 days.
That's a long time.
We got Roxanne. Thank you for sharing your story. Great message. My fiance, who has 85 days today, enjoyed listening. We're in Vermont ourselves.
Let's clap it up for the fiance and for the supportive partner. Let's go for that. And yes, what's good with Vermont? Shameless plug for my job in the magazine I write for, Red Barns, Tall Mountains, and Cheese. What y'all know about Vermont? Green Mountain State, we're in here.
There's the plug. Terry Lisa, 161 days today, Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the house.
Yes. That's the lean back clap right there.
All the way back. Let's see. We got Amber. So effing proud of you. My drug of choice was solely alcohol, and at 41, I have 22 months free from that poison. No matter what, just don't drink. The rest is that around the world, by the way.
Yeah, that was kind of the gyroscopic clap.
Yeah.
I get creative.
I love it. It's easier and more beautiful than you can imagine. So happy you're here. Keep coming. Love it.
Big facts.
Love it. Let's see. We got Jan. Keeping my health and happiness. A refusal to despair. A rising above challenges. That's right.
Shout out to Jan. She was a member of my recovery circle, who was also a member of my mom's recovery circle. And shouts out to her. Pivotal role in my earlier stages of my recovery. Big love for her.
Shout out, Jan. Yeah, man, those circles are very important. Very important. We got Travis, 49 days today. Congratulations. James, 45 days.
Back-to-back clean days. Oh, 3.
There we go. We got 69 days.
Hat trick.
I'm trying to find.
Congratulations.
Let's see. We have
a shout out to Bo and Melissa on 60 days and 20 years. I see it in the comments. I'm just going to shout it out. Shout out to
Let me see where it's probably down there, huh? Oh yeah, there we go. Bam, I got it.
Yeah,
we got Bo 60 days, yes, and then we have Tanya's 2 years.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Kim loves your brain.
I love your brain too. The brain is a beautiful thing, ain't it? All these neurons firing.
There we go. There's a hello from Alaska. 20 years clean. Let's always support our brothers and sisters in active recovery, and even more love and support for them in active use. Yes, even more love. We got Melissa. Hello from Alaska. 30 years clean. Oh man, that's what I'm talking about. All right, man. Oh, we got Haley's got 111.23. That's what's up. We got what? That's 9 months. 9 months. Am I counting right? I think so.
Yeah, about to be 10 in like 2 weeks.
Yes. We got Big Steve in the house. What's up, Big Steve? Looking at the lights behind you, multicolored. Listen, it's a vibe up in here. You know what I mean? It's a vibe.
big vibes.
Ben came to vibe with me, so you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Now I just got these like exposed, which are cool, but I need to sauce it up with some lights. Let me get some light.
Yeah, yo, just go like this. Go like this. Wait. Is it gonna do? No. Don't do that. Do this. Do that.
Oh, no way. I love the future. What?
Yeah, it does stuff like that. Then you can
That's
just do this.
crazy.
I
That would
know,
give
I'm
me the
getting.
thumbs up. Oh, wow. Wow.
You could do that too.
Wow. We live in a beautiful Black Mirror reality, don't we? Oh, wow. That is
It
so
really
cool.
is. It's
That is
entertaining to say the
Yeah.
least, right? Oh man.
God bless
Yo,
the
Ben.
future.
Yeah, I appreciate you, dude. Thank you for coming on
Appreciate you too,
tonight
man. Thank you
and
for
sharing your
having me,
story.
man.
Yeah. We got to get you on for a Sunday night, man, with all the guys, man, and we just talk topics, man, and just bullshit. It's a good time, I promise.
Let's do it, dude. I would love to. I'm head over heels in love with this community. Everybody representing. Love the work you're doing and love to be a part of it.
Awesome, man. Well, we're gonna definitely get you back. Well, hey guys, appreciate you all being here in the comments and commenting and just showing up. And another round of applause for Ben, man, for sharing his story, dude. You're phenomenal. You're inspiration. And we'll see you guys next Sunday at 8 p.m. live right here. And until then, you guys have a great week, man. Kick ass, take names, all that good stuff. We love y'all. Peace.